Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out so far. I hope you're having fun. Yes. What's been your favorite part so far?
All of it.
Prop room.
We would like to thank the fearless leadership of AvatarMeet for all of their work with Kevin to put this day.
Awesome, awesome. Well, this is coming towards an end, but I think we've saved the best for last. So I want to get started with this panel without...
When you said that, I thought you were going to dance or something. I didn't know, man. I was getting excited there for a second.
Taking this gig now. Here we go.
I'm spinning on my chair. And I have no way to...
Let's all lower ourselves just a little bit.
Much better.
Dylan can be as tall as him.
You know what? Someone should give Disney a note. This could be a really good attraction for them.
Yes. They have it at one of the bars, except only one seat.
Awesome, awesome. We'll go ahead and get this panel started. And I'm going to kick off with a question/intro all in one. And I just want to know, first of all, or I hope everyone wants to know. But the first question is, tell us your background. You give us your name, tell us your background, and what brought you to Lightstorm. If you want to get us up, Joe.
All right, my name's Joe Pepe. Let's see, my background in a nutshell. I studied design in Brooklyn, New York, at a college called Pratt Institute. Got an internship at Disney in Orlando, Florida for 3 months. That got me somewhat into the film industry that way. Finished college and then got hired at Disney in their animation studio in 1992. So I worked on everything from The Lion King on up to Home on the Range, pretty much, as an effects animator. And during that time, I had transferred out to California, but I do have to say that while I was in Orlando, we were talking about this before, they had the Aliens props at one of the museums there, and being a big Jim Cameron fan, as always, I had to go see that stuff, and it was the first time I actually got to see some of the actual props from movies. Now, Disney had been having shows like that, but this was the first time that Jim's stuff had been somewhere in that area. So I transferred out here and started working for Disney still until we all got laid off. And
it happened.
And everything went digital.
That happens in the industry.
That's standard, yeah. And started working for a company called Amalgamated Dynamics because I always wanted to get into live action film design. And they are a smaller or medium-sized practical effects company that used to be artists that worked at Stan Winston's studio, which then leads me into working for Stan Winston's studio. And I was there for 4.5 years, 2.5 ended up being working on Avatar. And that was like the big dream was to work on a Jim Cameron project. And originally it was just to even meet him, being working at that studio. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Cameron were Stan's good friends from the first Terminator film and the second. And and then Aliens as well. And literally that all just being there at the right place at the right time gave me an opportunity to present artwork to Jim on the first Avatar when he and Stan Winston had a meeting about doing artwork for the film after, I think it was a year in production or pre-production that you guys had been in. Mm-hmm. And had a blast, really enjoyed it, worked. I can't believe how hard I worked, but it was about how much I wanted, this is the first time and probably the only time I'd ever get a chance to show Jim my skills. And I spent, I don't know, I was telling Linda too, it was one of those things where if you work the idea is to stay ahead of Jim if you can, because he's the type of guy that is such a hard worker, and you can't imagine how hard he works. And then when you see it, you're like, an individual can actually accomplish this kind of stuff. So staying pace with him was one of those things you have to learn to do for me. And so yeah, it was just it was a wonderful experience. I had the time of my life, and then I think. Every year, for 8 years, once a year, I would email John and ask him when the sequels were going to happen. And here I am.
And we're lucky to have John. Yes. All right, so Ryan, we'll go with you next.
Oh, good. I thought I was going to go last. And
That's right. I want to keep things moving, you know.
I'm the most boring of the group, so I'm more of an engineering background. So I went to Georgia Tech with computer science and like with a focus in visual effects and things like that. When I was there, they had like a couple classes that was like video game design, and it was like a new thing, and they were like, "Oh, this is a silly class," but I actually got really into it. And right
Those
out of
video games are never going to turn into anything.
exactly. It's a for a college, offering video game classes. So. But right after that, I started working for a motion capture company called Giant Studios, who did the the motion capture, performance capture on Avatar. They were working on Polar Express at the time, so I kind of jumped right in and worked on several projects since then. But then Avatar was kind of like, let's take everything we've learned up to this point and throw it all out the door, and let's try to reinvent how we do this and try to integrate it into movies. Because up until that point, motion capture was kind of like, we'll use it for this scene or we'll use it for this scene. Polar Express used it for the whole movie, but it was a completely different way of doing it. And this was, we're going to try to do a live action movie using just straight motion capture, performance capture, and so a lot of challenges, and it's been a hell of a ride since then.
So, but what did your parents think when you first wanted to go into?
Oh yeah, this is a good. So when I was in college, I was working at Verizon Wireless, and so they were like, "Oh, this is great," he's and Then I was like, "So I'm quitting that. I'm going to go work for this small visual effects company," and they're like, "No. We just paid for this college.
You have a future with Verizon, and
yeah, exactly." I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, it's only half pay what I'm making now, but it's something I really want to do." And they were like, "Oh, I don't know about this," but I think they're okay with my decision now.
So also, this is Ryan. Historically has worked through Giant, who's our software provider for the performance capture. That really was until last week, because at that point we have now purchased the Giant software. So we control that, and that way we could advance the technology, to our needs, and not worry about servicing others. So Ryan's now he's always been a part of the family, but he's no longer the stepson. So he's not a contractor anymore.
Yeah.
Great.
Kevin Dorman. I wanted to be an actor my whole life, ever since I saw my first TV show. Went to college for theater and specialized in movement, which at the time I was doing so I could graduate faster. I had no idea I would end up having a career in movement. So as soon as I graduated, that was in Ohio, as soon as I graduated I moved out here, and for the first 10 years or so kind of bounced around in a little bit of voiceover, a little bit of live action, a couple of video games here and there, and then started on in the early days of testing on Avatar, and fell in love with the people and the process and the script and everything. And luckily, they kept calling me back day after day. So,
and luckily for us, he kept saying yes.
so that was it.
Kevin, what was that first TV show? That you said, since I saw my first TV show, you wanted to act. I'm imagining, is it the Smurfs? Is it, what was it?
If anybody actually knows this show, it's going to be a little embarrassing. It was Kids Incorporated.
Oh yeah.
Kids.
I can remember, I was so young, I didn't understand really what TV was and everything, and I would beg my parents, I want to do that, I want to be up there, I want to be doing that, and they would have to explain to me, we live in Bowling Green, Ohio, there's none of that around here, and so they got me into theater to appease that for me.
There you go. All right.
That's awesome.
Bill?
My name's Dylan Cole. I'm co-production designer on the sequels, and I was a concept art director on the first one. My background is I always wanted to do art of some sort. I grew up like pretty much every artist in this industry is pretty much a Star Wars geek, and just wanted to work in movies. And I was attracted to the artwork. I went to UCLA as a fine art major, but I was very much a very like conceptual contemporary type of art school, and I'm painting dorky stuff, so I didn't really fit. But I got an internship up at ILM, and I learned more in one summer than I did in 4 years of school. And I actually interned in the matte painting department, which is sort of what I kind of first wanted to do. I was always interested in concept art, but I really wanted to be a matte painter as well. And kind of just saw what I wanted to do, and went home and just brute force practice at home on my computer, and then till my art started to look kind of decent. And then A few years, I was doing a bunch of different map paint. I worked on Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other films. And then I met Robert Stromberg. I did a bunch of map painting with him and some concept art. And then he ended up, through Brooke Brenton, I believe, working on the first film. And then he became production designer. And in this process, I was talking to Robert, and I'm like, "Ah, this sounds like fun. That sounds like fun. Like, let me on." And so I came on in July of 2006. At that point, I think they'd already been going for a year and a half of art. That's how long it had been going. So I came on, and then was on it for about a year and a half till I sort of left, and then was sort of back and forth as needed till the end of the film. But I did a lot of the environment design with Robert and Stephen Messing and a bunch of other people, but did a lot of the Pandora design and continuing on that on these.
And we even called Dylan to help us back with some of the advertising, and I think
and I did
sheet
the Sunset movie poster one. I did the a bunch of toy art, and then helping out with the Imagineering designs, and sort of all sorts of all things Avatar. And just before this, I was co-production designer of Maleficent. So.
Which was Rob Stromberg's first directorial.
Yeah, so he's, "Hey, I'm directing one production line." Sure. And then right as I'm running off to do that, John's like, "Call us when you get back." Okay. and so yeah, not daring to hope that it was going to really end up here, but yeah.
And Dylan was a huge help on our Disney project before he took off to go work on Maleficent. So
Yeah, it was funny. I did about some few months of that. Did a whole giant film. 2 years later, "Oh, we're still working on that. So let's do some more." Okay.
exactly, we're still going.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Kathy Franklin, All Things Franchise, and my life in entertainment started actually on Romper Room. When I was 13. That's the best 2 weeks of my life, Romper.
Did she ever call your name at the end?
Huh?
Did she ever say
Did she
your
ever
name
see
in the
me?
mirror? Yes.
Well, Kathy occasionally
Well, of
comes
course, I
up.
guess it would,
But I actually started in finance, was a teacher for a while, and then found my way to the Walt Disney Company and was there for 11 going on 12 years, working in first corporate social responsibility, and then going over to Disney Consumer Products to work on Disney Princess and launch Disney Fairies. And I worked on Cars and Toy Story with the folks up at Pixar and really cut my teeth on franchise at Disney. And then had the opportunity when John and Jim decided that they really wanted to think about Avatar not as a film or a series of films, but as an entire franchise with a lot of brand management being driven by the filmmakers from their point of view and really taking a broad look at how they wanted the reach and impact of the Avatar story world to grow over time and last well beyond the years in which we would have theatrical film releases, but be something that was meaningful to people at every level for the extended future. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to come and join the team. So really we are looking at how do you take Avatar and grow the story world and the influence of the story world and the themes that are so important to all of us into something that has reach and impact around the world for decades to come. That it will be both unbelievably entertaining, but have ethos and meaning that are really, we think, unprecedented and can't be duplicated by any other story or storybook.
Yeah, in some ways, I look at the interviewing process when you're in the business. You know, it's sort of like a blind date. You know, in the first 5 minutes of the blind date, you know whether you want to spend the rest of the night at the dinner or not. You know, and I remember meeting Kathy and, you know, having met several other people for the same position, and it was always like 5 minutes into the interview, I said, okay, how am I going to get out of this without, you know, ending it? And I met with Kathy and really just very quickly in that meeting felt very comfortable and felt that she was the right person and certainly has proved herself to be that. So we're very lucky to have her and Brooks, who you also met earlier, sort of, you know, heading all of that up.
So just as you all have questions, if you have questions about some of our other projects that you may have seen, whether it's the Disney Park or our recent announcement about Cirque du Soleil, happy to answer any questions that we can. And Brooks will be the guru of any questions you have about all things social media, video games, or anything else digital.
So I'm John Landau. I think at some point or another I met some of you a little while back, but you know, I ended up meeting Jim because I was the studio heavy on True Lies. And Jim and I butted heads on that and survived each other and figured let's try it again. And we tried it as a one-off on something that was called Planet Ice, which was the cover name for Titanic. And we survived Titanic, and said, well, let's try and make this a little bit more of a permanent relationship, and have been sort of involved with Jim since really 1993. So it's been a while.
Great.